to see how much we know about the big bands and band leaders and singers and whomever else he chooses to ask about. So without further ado, Gene, why don't you start?
Yeah, before we get started, do any of you folks have any particular fond memories or unfond memories of any of the old big bands? If so, I'd like to hear about them, so we might be able to direct the questions a little better.
And if you
Don't
do
all
respond,
speak up at once.
try to answer one at a time, not talk over each other.
Drop to mute.
That's not gonna listen to anything.
Nobody? All right.
Couple centuries ago, I used to go to the Frolic Ballroom in Allentown and to Dorney Park.
Eva.
They always had big bands there, and they were wonderful.
Yeah, any in particular, Chuck, that you remember?
Oh yeah, Ralph Flanagan, Billy May, Buddy Morrow, Carmen Cavallero, Sammy Kaye, a lot of them. They all came to Allentown.
Yeah, you have a good memory, Chuck. Most people don't even remember Carmen Cavallero.
And some of us never heard of them.
Don't you think? Oh, that's right. That was my point. All right, let's start. Remember last time we chatted, we were talking about movies. Well, I thought since you folks are also familiar with the old movies, we'll get you started with those. And the first one is pretty easy, I guess. What was the name of the band that was associated with the movie that was made back in 1954 called The Glenn Miller Story? Just take a wild guess.
Anarchy.
You guys are pretty sharp. This is going to be a lot easier for you than any of us suspected. But
That's
along the
like
same lines, we all remember Jimmy Stewart in that movie. But does anybody there remember what the name of the actress was that portrayed his wife?
June Allison.
Who said that?
Me.
June Allison.
That's it. You're absolutely give that man.
Absolutely.
Louis, you say it too. All right, very, very, very good. And so, in 1955, Benny Goodman felt that he wasn't going to be outdone by the movie in 1954 about Glenn Miller, who portrayed Benny Goodman in the movie of the same name. Anybody remember?
Steve Allen.
Very good. All right. Mr. Dalmas, you're going to show off here. Then, who was the actress that portrayed his wife?
You got me there, baby.
Anybody? Remember the movie From Here to Eternity?
Yeah.
Donna Reed.
Donna Reed. Who said that?
Chuck.
Absolutely. You're the star of the show so far, Chuck.
No.
All right.
I'm too humble.
Does anybody remember the Eddie Duchin story?
Oh, geez.
Yep.
Yeah.
No. Who was the actor that portrayed Eddie Duchin?
Tyrone Power.
All right, Chuck.
Yep.
You're on a roll here.
I don't remember his first name.
And who was the famous movie star that portrayed first his girlfriend and then his wife?
Eddie Duchin story.
Remember the movie Picnic?
Kim Novak. Kim Novak.
You're right.
That's right. Good. Very good.
You guys are pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Wait, who was the musician that dubbed in the music when Steve Allen was supposedly playing the clarinet? Take a wild guess.
Benny Goodman.
Benny
Good.
Goodman.
All right. You're pretty sharp today, Mr. Dalmas.
Well, see, that I just wanted to show you guys that in addition to country music, I can do big band.
Yeah,
Thank God you know something else.
yeah. Actually though, Jim, big band music and country music are really mutually exclusive.
No, some of us just have a broad background.
That's true. That's very, very true. Let's see, along that, who was it? And this is one Chuck should nail. Who was the pianist that dubbed in the music in the background of the Eddie Duchin
I don't
story?
think it was a tape. It was like
Oscar Levant.
cable. I
Who?
cable.
Oscar Levant
No.
wasn't him.
Go back to your answer a little while ago, or the pianist you were talking about, Chuck.
Brian Cavallero.
You got it. Nothing to it.
Go ahead.
What other two movies? And Marilyn asked me why I didn't write all these questions down. I could go on for hours asking questions about this kind of thing. What other two movies does anyone remember? Any other two movies that Glenn Miller starred in?
Go get your book. No.
A Tuxedo Junction.
No, who said that?
Lee.
That's a song. All right, good try though, Lee. How about Orchestra Wives? Remember that one?
No.
Sun Valley Serenade. Well, if you don't remember either of those two movies, you're going to have trouble answering my next question. Who was the individual who later became a very famous television star back in the early 50s that portrayed, not very effectively, the bass player in Glenn Miller's orchestra in the movie Orchestra Wives?
John Wayne. I just wanted to have an answer of some sort.
That's of some sort, that's for sure.
Anybody know that? Did anybody see them? Well, I guess nobody saw the movie, but the individual. Remember Jackie Gleason?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Can you picture Jackie Gleason in a movie trying to portray a bass player? It was really kind of hysterical, but
I would think.
yeah, it was. All right, talking about the big bands, there was a lot of royalty or allegations of royalty back in the big band days. For instance, here's another tough one for you. Who was the band leader that was referred to affectionately as the Duke?
Duke Ellington.
Duke Ellington.
You guys are sharp. How about the Count?
Count Basie.
And let's see, who was Satchmo?
Louis Armstrong.
Louis Armstrong.
All right, let's see. How about the Kings? Who was the king of jazz?
The king of
Referred to
jazz.
affectionately as the king of jazz.
Jim Thomas.
Yeah, there you go.
Jazz, maybe it was very good.
Anybody have any idea?
Is it Benny Goodman?
No. Yeah, but it was anybody. Does anybody here besides Jim Dalmas remember Paul Whiteman?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I got to tell you this.
Club.
I actually met Paul Whiteman.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. I was working for the TV station and he came and made a personal appearance. So I went down and shook his hand.
Yeah. He was a marvelous orchestra leader, but the thing I never understood, Jim, was how he acquired the title of the King of Jazz. Because of all the things that Paul Whiteman was associated with, jazz was not one of them.
Gene, do you remember what song he was famous for?
No, that was before my time, Jim.
Well, this one was, I think he performed this song. He premiered it, I think, on your birthday. And you don't remember?
No, I don't.
Rhapsody in Blue.
That's it.
Oh,
What was the name?
Rhapsody in Blue.
Oh, all right.
Rhapsody
Oh,
in Blue.
I
That's
don't
one of my
recognize-
favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, it was. And Glenn Miller made a very, very memorable recording of that tune too. But let's see. How about the King of the Clarinet?
Benny Goodman.
very
Very
good.
good.
Of the coronet,
Do you just start?
Clarinet.
I'll bet you do.
Benny Goodman.
did you say coronet?
Don't you know some of these?
The corn,
All right, let's move on then. Who was the King of Swing?
Benny Goodman.
Hey,
Well, he can't be two. He can't be both kings, can he?
Yes, he can.
No, he can't. All right, who remembers who was the official King of the Clarinet?
Benny Goodman.
Clarinet.
Freddie Shaw.
Benny Goodman.
Who said that? Who said Artie Shaw?
I did.
Who?
I did it.
Gary.
Whoever said it is absolutely right.
Sure.
All right, only have one more king. Who was the Waltz King?
Oh, I know who the Waltz King.
Lawrence Welk.
Now that we're talking about music. The Waltz-
Strauss. Strauss.
Guy Lombardo.
No, anybody remember Wayne King?
Wayne
Oh, yeah.
King, yeah.
No, you must remember. But speaking of Lawrence Welk, we'll talk about him. He was the king of the, as I called it, the Mickey Mouse music. It was music that was never memorable, but you could always recognize it when it was being played. But what instrument did Lawrence Welk? He played two instruments.
Squeeze box.
Yeah, the
Accordion.
accordion. And I don't remember offhand what the other one was. The only thing I remember, it was sort of an electronic piece of equipment. And when he played it, it sort of sounded like somebody blowing across a blade of grass. It was non-musical. But who was the famous, talented accordion player on the Lawrence Welk show?
Myron Florin.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Now you know who watched him regularly.
Lee.
My mother wouldn't go any place on Saturday night. Saturday night was Lawrence Welk night, and Tuesday night was Milton Berle night. All right, here's a question. Everybody except Mr. Dalmuth can try answer. What make of car did Lawrence Welk always drive when he was on television?
Plymouth.
Hello.
Plymouth.
Well, that's close. That's
Dodge.
the Dodge. Don't you remember they'd have the full size Dodge set up in the middle of the ballroom? Yeah, it was really pretty. That was kind of memorable. All right, we'll give you some easy stuff now. Let's talk about some of the big band theme song. Everybody knows what Glenn Miller's theme song was, but how about Benny Goodman? What was the name of his theme song? Anybody?
Yay Train?
No, that was Duke Ellington. Yeah, let's dance. Remember?
oh, is that Benny Goodman's? Oh.
Nobody remembers that.
Sing it for us, Gene.
Now you don't want me to sing it for you. In fact, I don't remember any vocals to that particular song ever, Jim. Fortunately for me,
Can I interrupt for just a second?
you have.
I talked to Marilyn Garthwaite, and she said that you would sort of do some descriptive stuff, and she would do performing, like dancing or singing or something like that. So before we're finished, hopefully this will occur.
Yeah, thank you for the vote of confidence, Ray, but this is not a comedy show. Besides, we haven't seen our dance instructors in 4 months. We're gonna have to start from scratch when they finally return. All right, what was Guy Lombardo's theme song? Come on, everybody knows that.
Good night, ladies.
Guy Lombardo.
The New Year's Eve.
Get it.
Yeah,
Mm.
on New Year's Eve, folks.
Old Lang Syne.
Boo-hoo.
Old Lang Syne.
Who said that? Patty?
Page.
Yeah, there you go, Paige. I knew you were going to be out of this, Paige, because we're not talking about contemporary music. But
There you go.
maybe- yeah, I'm sorry. I realized I was going to offend you with the music we were talking about today.
You are not offending me. It's just
Good.
that I don't have a lot of personal knowledge of it.
Of course not. For you, it's history. But
Exactly.
Jerry should remember most of this. So.
But I didn't live far from where Guy Lombardo lived, you know,
Where did Guy Lombardo live?
on Long Island in
Is that
Freeport.
right?
Yeah.
Did you ever get to the Glen Island Casino?
Did I get to what?
The Glen Island Casino on Long Island?
I did not.
Okay. Where was Guy Lombardo born?
Canada.
Where?
Canada.
Yeah. I guess that's why they called him Guy Lombardo and the Royal Canadian. So I would guess.
It's true.
Okay.
How many brothers did Guy Lombardo have that were in his orchestra?
1.
3.
3. Who said 3?
Louise.
Okay, cool, very good. We're not going to ask for their names, but one of them, I forget. I think Victor is the youngest one. Really didn't contribute too much to the orchestra, except I think he played a saxophone, but I don't honestly recall. What was the one unique instrument that was in the Guy Lombardo orchestra that was never ever seen in any other of the big bands?
You literally have to be in front of the camera.
You have a harp?
No, Tommy Dorsey had a harp in his orchestra for a short period of time, but I don't know if that was unique to Tommy Dorsey or not. But Guy Lombardo, believe it or not, he had a tuba. Now, can you imagine in a big band, the presence of a tuba? It just seemed always to me to be so out of place.
Why? No.
What was the question? Why? I have no idea why.
Gene, who had a marimba in their band?
All of them.
I don't know. That was just my personal opinion. Let's go back and talk about Benny Goodman for a moment. Does anybody remember the names of the 4 original members of the Benny Goodman Quartet?
Gene Krupa.
Okay.
You should.
I don't remember that.
Do you know any of them, Dave? No? Okay.
What were the instruments in the quartet besides the clarinet and the drum?
How about a trumpet?
No.
Piano and bass.
Who said that?
Saxophone.
Microphone?
Saxophone.
No. Saxophone. No, it's just
Piano and bass.
just the clarinet, the piano, the drummer, and the vibraphone. Remember the vibraphone player?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vibraphone. Do you remember the vibraphone?
No.
What's a vibraphone?
Like that.
Sounds vulgar.
And who played the piano? Teddy Wilson.
Piano player.
Yeah, Teddy Wilson. And Lionel Hampton was on the vibraphone.
Oh, no, he was on the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
The Phil Howards have been very quiet this afternoon.
Don't remember as much as we thought we did.
Yeah, and so is Mr. Struzing. You know, Bob, you used to live up in North Jersey. Do you remember the Frank Daly's Meadowbrook Ballroom in Cedar Grove?
Bob's Northern New Jersey then.
Let's see what else we got here. We got by most of the theme songs.
Hey, Gene, do you remember
Yes.
the movie called the Eddie Duchin story?
Sure.
I remember seeing it, but I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember the music.
Well, that
It
was
was-
the one where Carmen Carolero dubbed in the music that Eddie Duchin was supposedly playing. You know, Eddie Duchin was not really all that great a pianist. He was, I think people went to see Eddie Duchin because he was such a handsome looking person. They didn't go to watch him listen to him play the piano. They went to look at him. but then, of course, as perhaps some of you know, he had his son followed in his footsteps. His son's name, if I recall, was Peter Duchin, and he was a much better piano player than his dad ever thought of being. You want to talk about any more theme songs?
Were there any famous vocalists that sang any of these theme songs?
You're way ahead of me, Fred. All right, let's talk about some of the vocalists. Who did Frank Sinatra sing with for the most part?
Frank Sinatra.
Tommy Dorsey.
Yeah.
Come on, Frank Sinatra. Everybody knows. Even I recognize Frank Sinatra.
Who did he sing with?
I don't remember
Nancy.
Frank Sinatra ever singing with anybody.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he started out as a big band singer.
He made
What
Frank
about
Sinatra made tons of records with Tommy Dorsey.
Right.
He's not a vocalist.
Dorsey?
You said who did he sing with?
Yeah, Tommy Dorsey.
Tommy Dorsey sang? Oh, Frank Sinatra.
Marilyn's helping me here. She thinks Tommy Dorsey sang. I guess the question I should have asked was, what orchestra did Tommy Dorsey sing with?
Frank Sinatra.
No,
He didn't
no. He meant to
Frank
say.
I know. Marilyn, you gotta forgive me. Marilyn's helping me out.
Hey, Gene,
Yes,
what railroad song did Glenn Miller play?
Chattanooga Choo Choo.
There you go. Very
Yeah.
good.
You know, when I was back as a teenager in my early 20s, one of my good friends was an avid Benny Goodman orchestra fan, and I was more of a Glenn Miller fan. We used to have heated conversations about which was the better band. And now that I'm older and hopefully a little wiser, I still like the Glenn Miller sound, but I think Benny Goodman over the years had much more talented musicians
That's the
than
seal.
Glenn Miller. Let's go back and talk about Glenn Miller for a moment. Who was the tenor saxophone player that oftentimes sang along in the Glenn Miller renditions?
Tex Beneke.
Tex Beneke. Yep. And did anybody like Tex Beneke's singing or saxophone playing? Don't all holler at once. The reason I asked, I thought he had a terrible voice, and if you remember the song, it's In the Mood. Yeah, it was the most popular song that Glenn Miller ever recorded, and in that song, Tex Beneke and the other tenor saxophone player, Al Klink, sort of traded bars, and Al Klink was a much more technically experienced saxophone player than Tex Beneke ever thought of being. But Tex Beneke did get some celebratory fame with the Chattanooga Choo Choo song that Jim referred to a little while ago.
Does anybody know why Gene is such an expert on big band music?
If nobody wants to volunteer, I'll tell you why. Back when I was 18 or 19 years old, I had a night job, and I'd listen to this disc jockey from broadcasting from the Steel Pier in Atlantic City. And during the night, he would have these quizzes, and whoever was listening to the show and called in the correct answer won 2 tickets to the Steel Pier. Now, they were worth about, the combined total was worth about $2.50, but this was back in the mid-50s. So I used to call in regularly. I had all kinds of tickets to the Steel Pier. So I'd grab a date, we'd go down to the Steel Pier and spend the whole day there for $2.50. And the Marine Ballroom was on the end of the Steel Pier. And the original Steel Pier was about a half mile long. And you'd walk out there, and there were lots of big bands there. Buddy Morrow, Billy May, that Chuck had referred to. Ray Anthony was one of my favorites. And what was so great, particularly with Ray Anthony, you'd be halfway out on the pier, and you could hear Ray Anthony's trumpet just like it was playing alongside you. So there you are, half mile out in the ocean with a ballroom. It was really, really cool. And that just led into my interest in the big bands and learning about them. And it deteriorated even more when I started off college. But that's how I got originally involved in this. And I told you that Ray Anthony played the trumpet. What were some of the other band leaders that you identified with any particular musical instrument?
Tommy Dorsey played the trombone, and
Right.
he combined with Tommy for one orchestra. I think Jimmy played the trumpet.
I thought Chuck, you may be right. I thought Jimmy played the saxophone, but I may be wrong. I wasn't a particularly
Not sure.
avid Jimmy Dorsey fan. But who else played the trombone besides Tommy Dorsey?
Glenn Miller?
Marilyn even knows this one.
Glenn Miller?
Glenn Miller.
Glenn Miller, yeah.
Marilyn's on a streak now. All right, how about the piano? What orchestra leader? What really?
Ralph Flanagan played the piano.
Who?
Ralph Flanagan.
Yep, he did. But who else back in the early 50s? At the time, very avant-garde band leader. Tallest band leader in the world. He was, 6 foot 6 inches tall. Stan Kenton. You remember Stan Kenton? Stan Kenton, I thought, was a marvelous musician and band leader, but he really wasn't much of a dance band musician. And lo and behold, when I was in college, comes our junior prom. Who do they pick in that year to be the guest band? Stan Kenton. Well, I went. We had a good time, but most of Stan Kenton's music was pretty tough to dance to. You went to see Stan.
Modern jazz. That's what he was famous.
What was that?
Modern jazz.
Yeah. Basically, that's it, Chuck. What was Stan Kenton's theme song, Chuck?
Oh, I don't remember.
Artistry and Rhythm. You remember? You just temporarily forgot.
I never knew it.
Hey, Gene,
Yes, sir.
how many of the great big band leaders are still living?
I don't know, but not many, Jim.
Many.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. There are two.
Wow.
Okay, I have no idea who they are.
And as of February this year, they were still living, so they might both be dead now. I don't know. One of them was Ray Anthony, who in February was 98.
Okay.
And the other one is a guy named Elliot Lawrence. Did you ever hear him before?
Sure. Yeah. Elliot Lawrence.
Well, he's 95.
Yeah, he was known as a pretty avant-garde musician too, back in the early 50s. I never saw him in person, but Ray Anthony was probably one of my very favorite big band dance bands. Him, Guy Lombardo were the easiest orchestras, I think, to dance to. All right.
Remember Charlie Spivak?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
But he wasn't really, he was more in the Stan Kenton tradition as far as dance music. Very, very talented individual, but not the place you'd really want to go for to hear a dance band.
Now, do you remember seeing Ozzie Nelson conducting an orchestra?
Sure, Ozzie and Harriet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Harriet Hilliard.
Yeah, with his vocalist. Then they finally got married.
Yeah, and then they produced the big rock singer.
Yeah, well, we're talking about music today. And, Fred asked about a half an hour ago about, shut me off whenever you're ready, folks. But Fred asked about some of the vocalists. We recognized that Tommy Dorsey sang, or Frank Sinatra sang with the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra for a long, long time. And who did Marion Hutton sing with? Does anybody remember?
I don't know. That name's not familiar to me.
Patty and Paige are too young to remember this.
Glenn Miller? And does anybody remember Glenn Miller's favorite male vocalist? Come on, Chuck, we haven't heard from you for a while. Probably Ray Everly, but
Yeah, Ray Everly. Yeah.
Now that would be my first thought. But there was another vocalist by the name of Tommy somebody whose name I can't recall right now, who sang with the Glenn Miller Orchestra for a long time.
Who did Doris Day sing with primarily?
Les Brown.
Les Brown.
Les Brown? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't remember.
And the renown.
Yeah. Remember Perry Como?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What orchestra did he sing with for a long? It's not an orchestra that we talked about today, but had a very distinctive sound. And Perry Como sang with that group for several years. Ted Weems, remember? Anybody remember Ted Weems? His song?
Yeah, Ted Weems. Is that who he sang with?
Yeah, for about 3 years.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, most of us didn't. And Perry Como was another big favorite of my mother's. I think she bought every record that Perry Como ever made or even thought of making.
The Saturday Night Show.
Oh, you knew he was from Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Up in the coal country,
Yeah.
if I recall correctly.
And you know what he did for a living before he became a singer?
No.
Barber.
He was
Barber.
a barber.
He what?
He was a
Barber.
barber.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll be darned.
Actually, Perry Como from Canonsburg.
There you go.
Okay.
Where's that? Cannonsburg?
Canonsburg is south of Pittsburgh. In fact, I was shopping in a Kmart or something down there. We lived there 15 years ago. And somebody said to me, that's Perry Como's sister in another line. She was waiting to be get her things. But yes, so yes, we know about Perry Como. And of course, Dean Martin from Ohio, right over the line.
Do you remember who traveled around with Bob Hope? What band?
Les Brown.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Who was his vocalist? Lady vocalist.
Doris Day.
No.
As his wife would sing, Dolores Hope.
Yes. In the later years, yeah. But who was Les Brown's vocalist?
Doris Day.
No. Helen
No?
Forrest. Remember Helen Forrest?
Sure. Well, she sang with Benny Goodman a lot, too.
Yes.
You remember who sang originally Mac the Knife?
Bobby Darin?
I'll be darned.
No.
Bobby Darin did it, but he was not the first. Do you remember who the first was? Gene should know this.
No, I don't.
Louis Armstrong.
Okay.
Remember?
Now that you mention it, I recall that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm sorry.
Did you see the diving horse when you were on Steel Pier?
What was the question?
Did you see the diving horse when you were out on the Steel Pier?
Sure. You know, even back at that tender age, I didn't think that was a very appropriate way to treat animals. So that was a long way down from. It was close to 40 feet from there where they dove off till they hit the water. But it was a major attraction on the Steel Pier.
Do you remember what the name of the lady was who rode the horse into the water?
No, there were any number of them, and it was, I was watching a show about the Steel Pier not too long ago, and they did mention one particular individual who got severely injured when she was on the back of the diving horse.
Well, I remember that the person, when I went to see the diving horse, I can remember who the girl was because it was the same name as one of the restaurants out there near the end of the streetcar line. Hackney's, remember that?
Sure, yeah.
Well, her name was something Hackney, Anne Hackney, or I figured she made it up, but I do.
Oh, she may have. That was a stage name, Jim.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a stage name.
Hey, Gene, go back to the whether female vocalists other than the ones you've mentioned.
All right, let's see.
Margaret White.
How about Peggy Lee? Who did Peggy Lee sing with regularly?
I can't remember the names.
Anybody?
You remember who she sang?
Yeah, but no.
Dan.
Dan.
Oh,
Dan.
June Christie was a very fine vocalist. I remember her most vividly for her song with Stan Kenton, Tampico. And how about Martha Tilton?
Yeah.
Who did she sing with, Chuck?
Don't remember.
You still here, Chuck?
Still here.
Okay. I'll give you a hint, Chuck. The initials are BG.
Benny Goodman.
Good job, Chuck.
Who did
Good for you.
Who did Sarah Vaughan sing with?
I don't know. I was never a Sarah Vaughan fan, so
Do you
I don't
remember a
know,
song
Jim.
that she made famous?
as I say, I was not a Sarah Vaughan fan. No, I don't know.
Don't know.
Who was it, Jim?
The song Lover
Yeah.
Man?
What's the song?
Lover Man.
I don't recognize the song.
Wouldn't be very famous.
Linda says must not have been very famous. She doesn't
Yeah,
remember.
you sure you're not making this up from the Dallas?
You know, it might be a good idea if you check if you checked it out.
Yeah.
All right, who is the male vocalist, the primary male vocalist with Guy Lombardo?
Carmen Lombardo.
Well, Carmen sang a lot of songs.
Yeah.
Carmen wrote a lot of songs, but he sang some. But Kenny Gardner was really the lead male vocalist. As a matter of fact, Guy Lombardo really didn't have, if I recall correctly, any female vocalists at all that sang regularly with his band. But I remember Guy Lombardo used to play for years and years at the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. And back in the 50s when I was going to school, I had a girlfriend in New York City. So I'd go up there on weekends and we would go over to the Roosevelt Hotel and sit there and watch Guy Lombardo and Kenny Gardner. And as he called it, the sweetest music this side of heaven. Well, I'm not sure it was the sweetest music, but it certainly was music that if anybody was going to be able to dance, they were going to be able to dance to the music of Guy Lombardo. And remember his twin pianos? That was a major selling point for the Guy Lombardo Orchestra.
Who is
Stafford.
Gene,
Yes, sir.
what song did Ferd Groff do? What's
No.
he best known for?
Grand
Grand
Canyon?
Canyon Suite.
Not only do I not know the name of the song, Mr. Dallas, I don't even recognize the name of the individual.
Yeah, but you'll remember it once you hear what his song was.
Hey, share it with us.
The Grand Canyon Suite.
Oh.
It's the one that sounds like a horse clomping along.
Yeah, that's just one.
Hey,
that's just
Gene,
one-
it's
That's
Patty.
just one part of it.
Hey, Gene,
Yes.
we have a dinner engagement, so I have to leave, but I have really enjoyed your incredible knowledge.
Well, thank you. As always, Patty, you're very kind, but enjoy your dinner.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Patty.
Gene?
I
Yes,
got
sir.
one. Gene,
Gene.
Yes.
Sammy Kaye. What game was he famous for?
What?
When Sammy Kaye and his orchestra would appear, what game did they play?
Oh, yes. Yeah. They had a quiz. Oh,
You want to lead the band?
Right.
that's it. Yeah.
You'd like to lead a band.
Yeah, which was one of the most comical things you ever saw, because most of the contestants couldn't lead a band to save
The
their
least,
souls.
right.
But when you think of it, Sammy Kaye wasn't a particularly good band leader either, Chuck. He played nice music and it was very danceable, but it wasn't very original.
Lee had something. Lee, you were going to say something.
Yes, Lee.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what band did Joe Stafford was associated with?
Paul Weston is the one that seems to come to mind, but I'm not certain of that. But I'll research it for you. I do happen to have a nice reference source right here.
The big band.
Lee already know.
Yep. So I will get back to you, Lee. I think it was Paul Weston, but I'm not absolutely certain.
And I have another one we haven't mentioned yet. I think Helen O'Connell.
Helen O'Connell,
No, I know this one.
Jimmy Dorsey.
Yes, Jimmy Dorsey. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Bob Everly, they sang together a lot.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dorsey and Tommy Dorsey were always feuding with each other, and it was kind of hard to keep track of who was hitting whom at any particular time.
Well, there was a movie on their lives too. I don't think you mentioned, right?
I don't recognize it.
The Dorsey brothers.
I'm not familiar with that.
I think they came out of the Pennsylvania coal country.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
I'm not challenging you, Fred. I just don't recognize a movie about them. But well, you can borrow my Big Band's trivia book whenever you want, Fred.
And here I thought, Gene, I thought you were really smart and remembered everything. And hell, you got a trivia book. No wonder you're such an expert.
You know, it's amazing though. I started thinking about this seriously this morning, and I started reading these books, and I got engrossed with them. It was fun. I've had really enjoyed being able to share this with you. But I'm surprised that nobody here has any fond memories or memories at all of their experiences with during the big band era.
My time. That was my mother's era.
Somebody just said that was their mother's era.
Well, that would probably be Paige or Patty. Oh, Linda. All right. Well,
Linda.
Okay. If
Gene,
yes.
my only recollection of a band was after my high school prom on Limestone Road. Bill Haley played at our after prom dinner.
Yeah, that's more contemporary than the musicians.
I know. I was rock and roll, obviously.
Yeah. But you know,
actually, Gene, did you know that Bill Haley was actually a country musician, and he started doing rock, and that's what he became famous for? But he was actually just a good old boy from out in the hills somewhere.
He was from Sunset Park.
Hey, I'm surprised we haven't heard.
Was he a Sunset Parker?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's interesting.
You know, I'm surprised we haven't heard from Mr. McIntyre, because one morning when we used to gather over in the pavilion, Alan was telling me that when one of his children, I believe it was one of your sons, got married, Alan, Lester Lannon played for.
Oh, yeah.
Except
we got Lester Lannon's orchestras to play at both of our kids' weddings. And that was, the story was that, well, he was a big society orchestra fellow in, I guess, around New York. And he ended up with a number of orchestras, and it said that the first one that engaged him for a particular date, he would be there. Otherwise, you had the other groups. But one of the big things about his band, his orchestra, was that they continued to play the whole reception.
Yeah.
When someone would be playing the whole time, you didn't have great big pauses. And when things got a little slow, what they did was they pulled out all these hats and threw them out to the group, and it kind of livened things up. But that was just about at the end of his career.
Didn't he play mostly for debutante balls and that sort of thing? It was sort of high society.
Yeah.
And he had a whole bunch of different groups that were all under his name, but they would travel all over the country. And around Christmas time, when they have all the big society balls, there would be Lester Lannon playing there. Well, hell, Lester Lannon was playing in about 10 other places at the same time.
Well, that was one of our things and I remember it was I think it was $3,000 for the band or the orchestra. And it was a good sized group. This was up in central New Jersey.
Yeah, but I remember that very vividly, Alan, because Lester Lannon and his orchestra, the original group, they made such wonderful music, but a lot of it, the tempo of it did not lend itself really to ballroom dancing, but they're marvelous musicians.
For any of the Pennsylvanians, I'm trying to think of a place. I want to say it's up towards Reading or Lancaster that used to get big bands in and was also a dance venue. So I want to say Meadowood, but I'm not sure what that's.
Well, I think it was Pottstown.
Sunnybrook Ballroom.
Sunnybrook, that's what it was. Yeah.
But it was in Pottstown.
Yeah, they're probably my favorite memories of the dance bands, because when Marilyn and I were courting, we used to drive either from Kenneth Square or Chadsford up to Pottstown and spent from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock. And they had some marvelous bands there: Glenn Miller, Harry James, Tommy Dorsey, Sammy Kaye. It was a marvelous place to go. It's probably one of the last, maybe the last serious ballroom in the eastern part of Pennsylvania, and it's been closed now for some number of years. But it was and back when I was going to school, we would sometimes on a Saturday night, the gang, hey, let's go to Sunnybrook. Now, this was in Philadelphia. There were no expressways like 422. It took us 3 hours to get there. We'd be there until 1 o'clock. They were some long nights, but we had a great time.
Well, Gene,